What's up, everyone? Scout Army. This is Fuego Steve. If you're hearing a little feedback, today we are bringing you a lineup review, quick video cast to show I qualified last night for the FanDuel Live Finals with only 3 days left to go. It was a miracle, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I went to bed, and I will be 100% honest. I am a scoreboard watching machine. I'm sending screenshots at every point of the game, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I kept hearing some texts. And Steve Renner, I looked over and saw congrats from Steve Renner. I'm like, why is Steve Renner congratulating me? And saw some texts from Gaudasab and Lou from last night. What's up, Lou? Lou's joining me today. He's going to help talk about my lineup. How you doing, Lou? Lou and Gaudasab were sweating for me.
Yeah, I'm good. I got a text from Galtsop last night in the group chat. Fuego wasn't responding, so I assumed he was sleeping. Because if Fuego doesn't respond to a sweat like that, he's either sleeping or dead. So me and Galtsop were talking about it.
And I don't go to bed early usually, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
It was
no,
fate, I
no, no.
guess.
But
Go ahead.
listen. It was a pretty clear cut path you needed. It was really just if Steph Curry would have played that fourth, you wouldn't have gotten it. He played the entire third, and it was very close. You won by I think a point and 1.2 maybe, and Steph didn't
No,
play the
point eight.
entire
By point eight.
point eight. You won, and I'll tell you, Steph Curry didn't get a single point in the last 2 minutes of or the last minute and a half of the third, which was his last minutes of the game because it was a blowout. So you really it would have been a tough sweat for you because you would have had to make sure the whole fourth that that
Curry
he
wasn't
didn't
doing it. Yeah, I
that he
heard he
didn't
only
get in
scored like
there.
13 in that second half or something to take the lead.
He was going 50% the whole game though. You really won it with a couple of picks, a couple of great picks like Paul Gasol and you even could have taken it by a further margin if you would have listened to yourself and done favors as well.
Oh, I did do favors.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
There was what was the other guy you didn't do? I forgot.
I'm not
But
sure.
yeah,
But
the Paul Gasol favors thing was very smart.
all right. Well, we'll talk about that in 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with people out there. Hopefully you're watching it, and we'll go over my lineup real quick. So here we go. And yeah, notice, look, I already took money out. I always say when you win big, take some money out so you don't spend it all. Some people like to leave it in there, not me, because I will spend it all. So I already took some money out there. Here it is, Fuego Steve, number one. Scout DFS logo looks good at the top there. 352.4 to 351.6. This is the Curry guy. He had Curry and Elf Payton, so that was counter reach out, so it didn't matter. So it was whatever Curry did, and I held on to win. Let's talk a little bit about my lineup. Everyone except for Favors was in my write-up, and I mentioned Favors on the pod and on the chat that I liked. I can't, when I'm tinkering with lineups with half hour, 20 minutes, 10 minutes to go, some guys, click over other guys, and I can't put everyone in my write-up. But 8 of the 9 you could have got straight from Fuego Steve's cheat sheet, starting off with Rondo. He was one of my favorite plays, so I put Rondo in. He was very popular at 35.7%. And Lou Williams, I really like too, at 6,800. Favorite overall, including price, what I said in my write-up. So I put those two in to start. And they both were popular. That this is where, I am shocked that Peyton was 40%, to be honest with you. But with Booker out, I said his usage goes up in my write-up. So this was the play that I wasn't sure about because I kind of like Dinwiddie for the same price. But that's where I started, Rondo and Williams, and then I started filling in Hazonia, 14%. I'm surprised he wasn't higher than that. He was a really good play versus Chicago.
Hazonia was actually the same price as Simmons, which put some people in a little bit of a qualm because they're the same relative position, small forward, power forward, and I think Simmons was 11% owned, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
So
so they kind of split ownership
yeah,
there.
they kind
Yeah.
of split ownership, exact same price.
51.2, the highest score, Mario Hazonia, my qualifying line. I'm gonna have to put that in my memory bank. My highest score, man. I gotta get a Hazonia jersey. Yeah, and Gallinari was I said he had a decent floor in my write-up, and had a ceiling. He didn't hit the ceiling, but he did hit his floor at only 6.8%. It wasn't great, but it wasn't I would have wanted more than that. So that wasn't the greatest play. Griffin was not the greatest play. He was popular at 30%. He only scored 31.7 points. That was a big letdown. But Favors was key. Scored 39 points. I heard he got like 20 points in like 5 minutes late or something at only 7.9%.
Yeah,
And
Favors took you from sixth to first. He went from 21 points to 34 extremely quickly. I'm assuming it had to happen with steals and blocks.
yeah, and then the part of the correlation play there on the other side. Thank you, Gaudasab, for the Gasol play I wrote up in my article. That his I even thank Gaudasab in the article. Gave him props. Remind me of the usage he gets with no Marcus Aldridge, and I agree. And I like the play for the price for sure. So everyone except Favors, like I said, was in my write up. And if you were in chat and if you listen to the pod, I liked Favors. So Lou, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What do you see here that worked out?
Well, I like how you did the correlation. You probably had some money left over, or you liked Favors in general. But once you locked in Paul Gasol, it makes sense to put in the opposing small forward. I'm sorry, power forward and Derek Favors going up against Bertrand's, which ended up actually being in a lot of the top 10 lineups. I don't know if you've had a chance to dissect it yet, but when you were sleeping last night making hundreds of or thousands of dollars, I was looking at the top 10 lineups and I noticed that a lot of them had Bertrands in there.
Yeah,
um, so that was something that the mass,
second place did 43% owned here.
yeah, a lot of people did Bertrands, and the low owned Derek Favors really took it down for you. So, like I say, switching one guy out could mean the world. And a lot of these guys paired up San Antonio with Bertrands trying to get all those big man points, but Fuego got the upside, and 1 point. I always say it, 1 point at lower ownership could mean the world. And last night it meant a qualifying ticket for Fuego.
Yeah, here you can look at the second place lineup here. He went Curry, Mitchell. He paid down for Russell, who I liked. Russell, Carroll, who I liked. He went Ingles. He got it 6%. Also went for 36. So it was Favors and Ingles show. Helped propel us both. We both went Gasol. Usually you see a little more similar than just two in the first two lineups. So we only had two of the same players, but held on for less than a point there. Yeah, so I mean, I even said in my write-up, my concern was that Rondo would take away from Holiday, and you can see this kind of happen. Rondo only scored 26, but Holiday went for 49, and I think the same thing would have happened if Rondo would have went for 49. Holiday would have gone less. So that was one thing I was worried about, but it worked out.
Fuego, full disclosure, how many lineups did you do?
3 lineups. I did 3 lineups. Came in 20th with this lineup here, where I did go Bertrands, and Royce O'Neal, who was 40% owned, only scored 10 points. I ended up not realizing it, but I faded Durant, and this lineup did pretty good. And then so I had 3 lineups in there. Didn't max enter. Max enter was 12 lineups, I believe. It was a $77 qualifier. What else? Let's see. Nothing much. I liked Griffin, and on the other side, I like New Orleans players. That was one correlation I did. I did the Favors Gasol correlation there, the power forward and center on the opposite teams. I didn't run back any Golden State guys. I said I didn't love Curry. He almost came back to bite me because he did do well. And Curry, but Curry still only got 43. He didn't hit his 50, 60 point ceiling, which would have killed me. But that's one thing I said I didn't like about him. And what else? I didn't.
I like that. I like when I look at your ownership. You do have some high owned players, but you have the where your players produce the best is where it matters, and you had the low ownership there. Mario Hazonia, Drew Holiday. It's okay if you get an average performance out of a high owned player, but it's so great when you get 50 burgers out of a 24% owned player, a 39 point game out of favors, 7.9%.
Yeah,
You really got the points where you needed them.
yeah, and I was just gonna say that I always talk about you don't have to have your whole lineup be contrarian. 40% owned, 35%, 37% owned. These are high owned players, and you mentioned they kind of average performances from Rondo. Payton did well at 42, but from Rondo Williams kind of average performance. But because this is a case of higher ownership actually helping me. But I almost got 50 points from the 11% owned, got 51 points from 14% owned. This another example of not really killing me. Blake Griffin 30% owned, only 31 points. You want a lot more than that at 9,200, but it's because of ownership and the favors obviously 39 at 8% owned. Gasol 24% owned. That is he was probably the highest owned center because 24% is pretty high on FanDuel. And I remember looking at other ownerships, and he may have been the highest owned center. So it's not like I was completely contrarian. I do play some chalk.
Yeah, your lineup really did look nice. I remember looking at it at the end. Elfrid Payton, he wasn't even on my radar. I'm gonna be honest. I had one entry in the $77 queue, and who did I go with? I went with I think I went with Grant, and I don't know.
Well, I like Grant. I went with him, but it was the decision was after Booker was out. I was like, you know what? Peyton's always do or die. He either puts up a big game or he.
Oh, you know what I did?
Yeah.
I did Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie
Yeah,
really
same
screwed
price.
over.
Yes.
Same price. Dinwiddie was in a great spot, but he just didn't have it last night. And the other thing is, Kevin Durant disappointed a lot of people, and so did Clay. I don't know I don't know how Golden State scored 129 points without Durant or Klay Thompson. It really blows my mind. But
yeah.
it's
I said in my lineup that you could. Durant was not a must play. I said he was a good play, but not a must play. I decided to fade him in this. Yeah.
You know what? Jonathan Simmons, the guy at the same price as Hazonia, same position, got 30 points, good output, 3.3%, but nowhere near Hazonia's 50. So it's great when you see stuff like that.
4 steals, man.
Yeah, it's really great. I had Paul Gasol as well. Derek Favors. A lot of people got sucked into that New York news because they had Beasley not starting. I had Tim Hardaway. If Beasley wasn't in the game, Tim Hardaway would have been a lock. But I don't know how that got disconnected. Like, that usually never happens.
Yeah, we were getting bad info. We got some good, bad, going back and forth. So
yeah,
anyway, that was how I did it, man. I appreciate the help. That shout out to FuegoSteve's for coming on yesterday and helping us with the lineups. Got me on the Gasol. Really reminded us some stuff, and that's why we love having guests to get different opinions. We're gonna have Willie on this afternoon, get some different opinions, and this is it. That's why you got to get into the chat. Bounce stuff off people. And that's, I didn't make this lineup completely by myself. It was between looking at projections and talking to Lou and talking to FuegoSteve's and messing with lineups. This was not the first lineup I put in there. I did 3 lineups and it was one of the 3, and you just kind of playing around and making them. So, any final thoughts, Lou, before we get out of here?
Well, we're going to do a pod with some picks for today's game. And I'm just going to say what Willie would have said if he was talking to you right now. Fuego, you put your balls on the table, man. and at that finals, I expect you to take your balls out, put them on the table at the event, and say, I'm going to take this tournament down.
Yeah, well, I might let's leave that visual image alone. I might not do that, but I will go for it. It was funny. Our boy McJester, who we're trying to get on during the All-Star break, we'll see. He congratulated me on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, well, now I have to figure out how to beat you because he is the live final master. Me and Lou
won last year. He won last year with us.
Yeah, and he's got a couple entries. There's some guys that have 5 entries, so there's a $12 qualifier. Hey, if you want your chance, Hey, $12. You
Fuego,
got an
max
extra
that
12
out
bucks lying
tonight,
around.
baby. Max
Yeah,
that
I'm
out
not going to do
tonight.
that. But if you guys out there listening want to get your chance to compete with me in the finals, it's only $12 tonight. Throw one in there and cross your fingers. All right, for Jaguar Lou, this is Fuego Steve. This has been my winning qualifier lineup review show. We will talk to you later today in today's podcast. Peace.